package arrived on my doorstep on December 14th, wrapped in brown paper that looked like it had been sitting in someone's attic for 50 years. No return address, no postage stamp, just my name, Sarah Mitchell, written in spidery handwriting that seemed to tremble across the surface. Inside was a small glass terrarium containing a single pear tree sapling, no more than 6 inches tall, planted in dark soil. A card accompanied it, the same shaky handwriting spelling out, "On the first day of Christmas, your true love gave to you a partridge in a pear tree." I lived alone in a converted warehouse loft in the industrial district of Seattle. My last relationship had ended 8 months ago when Marcus moved to Boston for work. We promised to try long distance, but the calls became less frequent. The texts more perfunctory, until one day I realized we'd gone 3 weeks without speaking and neither of us had noticed. I had no true love. I had no one who would send me gifts. I placed the terrarium on my kitchen windowsill and tried to ignore the creeping sensation at the base of my skull. It was probably from a former coworker, maybe Emily from accounting, who always got weirdly into the holidays. I'd moved to this loft only 2 months ago. Most people didn't even have my new address yet. The pear tree was pretty in a melancholic sort of way. Its tiny branches reached upward like fingers seeking light. That night I woke to a sound, a cooing, soft and rhythmic, coming from my kitchen. I grabbed my phone, using its flashlight to navigate through the darkness. The sound grew louder as I approached the window. In the terrarium, perched impossibly on one of the sapling's thin branches, sat a bird. Partridge, I assumed, though I'd never seen one in real life. Its feathers were mottled brown and gray, its eyes catching the light and reflecting it back at me like tiny mirrors. The branch should have snapped under its weight. The terrarium's glass lid was still firmly in place, but there it sat, regarding me with an intelligence that made my skin prickle. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The second package arrived on December 15th. 2 small bird cages, delicate things made of tarnished silver wire. Inside each cage sat a turtle dove, white as bone, their eyes filmed over with cataracts. They didn't move. For a horrifying moment, I thought they were dead. But then one's chest expanded with breath, then contracted, expanded, contracted, like a machine. The card, "On the second day of Christmas, your true love gave to you 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree." The partridge was still in the terrarium. I checked it 17 times throughout the day, expecting it to vanish or hoping I'd imagined it. But no, there it remained, preening its feathers, occasionally cocking its head to look at me with those knowing eyes. I tried to find the sender. I called Emily. She laughed and said she wished she'd thought of something that creative. I posted on my neighborhood Facebook group, asking if anyone had seen someone leaving packages. Nothing. I considered calling the police, but what would I say? Someone was sending me birds, following the lyrics to a Christmas carol. They'd think I was insane. That night, the cooing was joined by a mournful hooting sound. The turtle doves, still motionless in their cages except for that mechanical breathing, were somehow producing this sound, a duet of loss and longing that made my throat tight with unexplained grief. I stuffed cotton in my ears and pulled the covers over my head. December 16th brought 3 French hens. They were dead, definitely, certainly dead. Their necks had been wrung, their bodies still limp and warm when I opened the box. They smelled of lavender and rot. The card was there, continuing the song's progression. I threw up in my kitchen sink. Then I did call the police. Officer Patricia Reeves arrived within an hour. She was kind, professional, and clearly skeptical. She photographed the hens, took notes about the suspicious packages and promised to file a report, but I could see it in her eyes. This was weird. Yes, but was it actually criminal? Anonymous gifts weren't illegal. The dead hens were concerning, but without a threat, without any sign of forced entry or stalking behavior beyond the packages themselves. Change your locks, she advised. Install a security camera. Call us immediately if anything else happens or if you feel threatened. After she left, I stood in my loft, surrounded by birds, the partridge in its impossible terrarium, the turtle doves in their cages, still breathing their mechanical breaths, the French hens in their box growing cold. I should have left. I should have packed a bag and gone to a hotel, or driven to my parents' house in Oregon, or literally anywhere else. But something kept me rooted, a morbid curiosity, a sense that running wouldn't matter, that whoever was doing this would find me anywhere, that the song would continue regardless. The pear tree had grown. It was now nearly a foot tall, its roots pressing against the glass of the terrarium. Small white blossoms had appeared on its branches overnight, for calling birds arrived on December 17th. These came in a wooden crate, and they were alive, thank God. Or at least I thought it was a relief at first. They were blackbirds, their feathers iridescent in the light, and they did call harsh, grating cries that sounded almost like words if you listened long enough, almost like they were trying to tell me something. I'd installed 3 security cameras the previous afternoon. I checked the footage obsessively, rewinding to the moment of delivery. 3:47 a.m. A figure approached my door. They were wearing a long coat and a hat pulled low, their face completely obscured. They moved with a strange, gliding gait, as if their feet weren't quite touching the ground. They placed the crate on my doorstep, stood there for a moment, just stood, perfectly still, facing my door, and then retreated into the darkness beyond the camera's range. I tried to enhance the footage, to zoom in, to capture any identifying detail, but the figures seemed to blur whenever I focused on them, their outline becoming fuzzy and indistinct, like they were vibrating at a frequency my camera couldn't quite capture. The blackbirds called through the day, Sarah, 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 or maybe that was just my exhaustion-addled brain imposing patterns on random noise. The pear tree was now 3 feet tall. The terrarium had shattered sometime during the night, but instead of soil spilling everywhere, the roots had somehow anchored into my wooden floor. Small pears were beginning to form on its branches, pale green and waxy. The partridge watched me from its perch, always watching. December 18th, 5 golden rings, not jewelry, not the innocent gift you'd expect. 5 brass rings on a chain, each one sized for a human finger, each one marked with strange symbols I didn't recognize. Geometric patterns that hurt to look at too long, that seemed to writhe and shift when I wasn't looking directly at them. And worse, each ring was stained with something dark and rusty. Blood, I was certain, though I couldn't bring myself to touch them to confirm. I called Officer Reeves again. She came, she saw, she bagged the rings as evidence, but her face was troubled now, the professional skepticism replaced with genuine concern. Ms. Mitchell, is there anyone from your past who might want to hurt you? An ex-boyfriend? Someone you testified against? Anyone? I ran through my life. It was painfully mundane. I worked as a technical writer for a software company. I had normal friendships, normal relationships, normal everything. The most dramatic thing that had ever happened to me was getting laid off from my previous job, and that had been due to company-wide budget cuts, nothing personal. No one, I said. There's no one. After she left, I researched the song. I'd heard it 1,000 times, sung it in elementary school choir, but I'd never thought about its origins. The internet offered various theories. It was a Catholic catechism teaching song, a memory game, a simple cumulative carol. Nothing sinister. But then I found the forums, the creepypasta sites, the collections of urban legends. There were others, not many, but enough. Stories of people receiving the 12 days of Christmas as a curse, the gifts becoming progressively more nightmarish, the recipients vanishing on the 12th day, never to be seen again. All the stories had been posted anonymously. All of them ended abruptly, and all of them were dismissed in the comments as creative fiction because of course they were. The blackbirds had stopped calling my name. Now they called something else, a word in a language I didn't speak but somehow understood in my bones. Coming, coming, coming. The pear tree had reached the ceiling. Its branches spread across the exposed ductwork of my loft. Small pears hanging everywhere, their skin now flushed with red. The partridge sat in the highest branches, surveying my home like a dark god. 6 geese arrived on December 19th. They came through my walls. I watched it happen, paralyzed on my couch. The drywall bulged and rippled like water, and then they emerged, 6 geese, white as wedding dresses, their necks impossibly long, their black eyes fixed on me. They didn't make a sound. They simply arranged themselves around my living space, still as statues, creating a circle with me at its center. The card appeared in my hand. Though I didn't see it arrive, my fingers were suddenly holding it. On the 6th day of Christmas, your true love gave to you. I tried to leave. I grabbed my keys, my phone, a jacket. I ran to the door. It wouldn't open. The handle turned. The lock disengaged. But the door remained sealed as if the frame had fused with the wall. I tried the windows. Same result, they'd slide open a few inches and then stop, held by nothing visible. I was trapped with the birds, all of them. The partridge in the pear tree, the turtle doves in their cages, still breathing, the French hens, now decomposing in their box, the smell overwhelming, the blackbirds calling their warnings, the geese watching me with hungry eyes, and the pear tree, which now covered half my ceiling, its roots breaking through the floorboards, its pears glowing softly in the darkness like lanterns. I called 911. The operator answered, but when I tried to speak, only bird sounds came out, cooing and hooting and calling and honking. I hung up in horror, pressed my hands to my throat, tried again. Nothing, just the sounds of birds. On my phone, a text message appeared from an unknown number. 6 more days, 6 more gifts. Are you ready, my love? December 20th brought 7 swans. They manifested in my bathtub, which had filled overnight with dark water despite the faucets being off. 7 swans, black as pitch, their feathers slick and oily. They didn't swim. They floated perfectly still, their necks arched, their beaks open in silent screams. When I approached to look closer, I saw that their eyes were human. Blue, brown, hazel, green. Each swan had recognizably human eyes, and I had the terrible certainty that these had once been people, that this was what waited at the end. Transformation, becoming part of the song. My voice hadn't returned. I could only communicate through writing now, typing messages on my phone. But who would I send them to? Who would believe me? I photographed everything. The birds, the tree, the swans in their dark water. I uploaded the images to every platform I could think of: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. The posts never appeared, or they appeared for a moment and then vanished, like they'd been deleted. But I hadn't deleted them. The pear tree was growing through the ceiling now. I could hear it in the apartment above mine, roots breaking through Mrs. Chen's floor. I tried to call her to warn her. No sound came out. I tried to text her, but her number was no longer in my phone. No one's number was, I realized. My contact list had been wiped clean except for one entry. True love. I didn't call it. I couldn't bring myself to. Not yet. The geese had begun to move. Slow, synchronized movements like they were performing some ritual dance. The blackbirds called out measurements. 7 nights,
6 nights, 5 nights, for the turtle dove's breathing had synced with my heartbeat. I could feel it in my chest, that mechanical expansion and contraction, like my body was no longer entirely my own. 8 maids arrived on December 21st. They weren't human, not anymore, or perhaps they'd never been. They appeared in the mirrors, all the reflective surfaces in my loft suddenly showing me 8 figures in old-fashioned maid uniforms. Their faces blurred and indistinct, they moved in my peripheral vision, seeming to clean, to dust, to organize. But when I looked directly at them, they were still, staring back at me with empty faces. They were preparing, making ready, for what I didn't want to know. The smell of the rotting French hens had become unbearable, but I couldn't move them, couldn't touch them. When I tried, my hands passed through them like they were smoke, but the smell remained horrifically real. The blackbirds had started eating them, tearing strips of putrid flesh, and I had to watch because there was nowhere else to go. I tried to break a window. I threw a chair at the glass. It bounced off as if hitting rubber, the glass not even cracking. I tried my phone again, still no voice. I tried typing emergency messages, but my keyboard would only produce bird sounds now. Transliterated, cuckoo, caw, caw, honk, honk. The pear tree had broken through to the apartment above. I could see Mrs. Chen's furniture hanging from its branches now. A lamp, a coat rack, family photographs, but I hadn't heard any screams, any sounds of disturbance. The building was silent except for the birds. The maids in the mirrors began to clean blood off surfaces, but there was no blood in my apartment. Not yet. They were cleaning what was to come. That night, I finally called the number. True Love. It rang once, twice, 3 times. A voice answered. My voice, or a version of it, clearer, sweeter, inhuman in its perfection. Hello, my darling, it said. Are you enjoying your gifts? I've missed you so much. We used to be together, you know, before you forgot, before you chose this small, mortal life. But I never forgot you. I've been counting the days. 12 days, my love. 12 days to remember. 12 days to transform. 12 days until you come home to me. Who are you? I tried to say, but only a partridge's coo emerged. You know who I am. The voice said, my voice said, I'm you, the part you left behind, the part that sang this song before time had a name. We made a promise, you and I. We swore to reunite when the cycle came round again. Did you think you could hide in human skin forever? Did you think I wouldn't find you? The call ended. I looked at my hands. In the dim light, they looked wrong, the fingers too long, the skin too pale. When I moved them, there was a delay, like a video with bad lag, like my body was becoming a puppet for something else. 9 ladies arrived on December 22nd. They came dancing through the walls, through the floor, through the ceiling. 9 figures in flowing dresses, their movements graceful and terrible, their faces shifting, sometimes human, sometimes bird, sometimes something in between. They danced in the space the geese had created, and the geese joined them, and the blackbirds, and even the turtle doves seemed to move in their cages in time with the rhythm. The partridge conducted it all from its throne in the pear tree. The maids in the mirrors danced too. Everything was moving now except me. I was so tired. I hadn't slept in days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself from the outside. Saw this woman who looked like Sarah Mitchell, trapped in a loft that was transforming into something else. The walls were no longer walls but membranes. The floor was no longer floor but roots and branches. The apartment was becoming a nest, and I was the egg within it, waiting to hatch into what I'd once been. Memories were surfacing that couldn't be mine. Memories of flying over cities that no longer existed, of singing in languages that predated human speech, of a love that transcended flesh and time, a merging of 2 beings into one impossible whole. I fought it. I clung to Sarah Mitchell, to her boring job, her quiet life, her small pleasures, but she was slipping away, revealing herself as the costume she'd always been. The number called me. I answered. 3 more days, my voice said from the phone. 3 more gifts. Can you feel it, my love? Can you feel yourself returning? The human world is so heavy, isn't it? All that gravity, all that time, all that separation. Soon you'll fly again. Soon we'll be one again. Doesn't that sound wonderful? It did sound wonderful. That was the horror of it. Part of me wanted this. Part of me was tired of being bound to earth, to this clumsy body, to linear time and mortal concerns. The dancing ladies took my hands. I tried to pull away, but my body moved with them, joining their spiral. We danced through the night, and with each step, I felt more of Sarah Mitchell crumble away. 10 lords arrived on December 23rd. They came riding through the dawn, mounted on birds too large to exist. Swans the size of horses, geese like griffins, blackbirds with wingspans that brushed the walls. The lords wore crowns of bone and robes of feathers, their faces hidden behind masks that looked almost human but moved wrong when they turned their heads. They brought judgment. That's what they were for, I understood now. The lords were here to witness the transformation, to ensure it was complete, to crown the being that would emerge from Sarah Mitchell's chrysalis. The pear tree bore fruit, full, ripe pears that smelled of honey and decay. The partridge ate one and grew larger, more terrible, its form shifting into something that hurt to perceive directly. The maids served the lords. The ladies danced for them. The swans sang for the first time, their voices high and beautiful and filled with mourning for what I was losing. I found a pen with the last of Sarah Mitchell's will. I wrote on the wall, "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am 32 years old. I am a technical writer. I live in Seattle. I am human. I am human. I am human." But my handwriting looked different. The letters were too perfect, too elegant, formed in patterns that were more symbol than alphabet. And as I watched, the words rearranged themselves. I am coming home. I am becoming. I am beloved. The lords nodded their approval. That night I molted. My skin split down the back, and something with feathers tried to emerge. I fought it, clawed at myself, trying to stay human. The pain was exquisite. Not physical exactly, but a pain in the soul. The agony of transformation resisted, but the song was too strong, the cycle too old, the love too deep. I called the number. I didn't want to, but my hands moved of their own accord. 2 more days, the voice said. But it wasn't just my voice anymore. It was harmonies, a whole chorus speaking in unison. 2 more days, and then the 12 days are complete. Then you shed this heavy name, this heavy life, and return to me. We were never meant to be separate, my love. We were never meant to be caged in singular forms. Together, we are the song itself. Together, we are eternal. I don't want this, I tried to say, but I did want it. God help me, I did. 11 pipers arrived on December 24th, Christmas Eve. They came playing instruments made from bones and hollows, producing music that unmade reality. Where their notes fell, the walls dissolved. The ceiling opened to reveal not sky, but a vast emptiness full of singing stars. The floor became transparent, showing depths below. Not the building's lower levels, but an abyss filled with wings. The 11 pipers played the world away, revealing the truth beneath. This had never been a human space. This had never been Earth, not really. This had been a stage, a theater where Sarah Mitchell played her role. And now the play was ending, the set being struck. The birds, all of them, joined in song. The partridge, the doves, the hens' ghosts, the blackbirds, the geese, the swans. They sang my name, my true name, the one I'd worn before I decided to play human. The lords stood as witnesses. The ladies danced as blessing. The maids prepared my throne. I remembered now. Not everything, but enough. I'd been something vast and impossible, a being of pure song and flight, existing in dimensions that had no names. But I'd grown curious about limitation, about singularity, about the strange beauty of being small and separate. So I divided myself, put most of my essence in one place and just a fragment in another. I'd put that fragment in Sarah Mitchell, let it believe it was complete, let it live a human life. But the other part had never stopped loving me, had never stopped wanting reunion. And when the cycle came round, as it did every 700 years, though Sarah Mitchell couldn't have known that, the gifts would come. The 12 days of Christmas, the song of calling home. The pipers played my transformation. With each note, more of Sarah Mitchell fell away. With each measure, more of my true self emerged. I was becoming magnificent. I was becoming terrible. I was becoming what I'd always been. The maids held up mirrors, and I saw myself. Still partly human, but growing wings. My face beautiful and alien. My eyes reflecting distances that shouldn't exist. I was halfway between worlds now. Halfway between what I'd pretended to be and what I actually was. One more day, one more gift. Then the 12 days would be complete, and I would fly home to myself. And Sarah Mitchell would be nothing but a dream I once had of being small. Part of me mourned her. She'd been real to herself, even if she'd been just a game to me. She'd had hopes and fears and favorite foods and songs that made her cry. She'd been a whole person, and I was killing her by remembering I was something else. But the song was inexorable, the cycle complete, the love too strong. The pipers played through the night, and I danced with the ladies, and the lords bore witness, and everything was almost ready. December 25th, Christmas Day. 12 drummers came drumming with the dawn. They beat reality's rhythm, the pulse of transformation, the heartbeat of metamorphosis. Each strike of their drums shook the fragments of Sarah Mitchell's life apart. Photographs turning to ash, memories dissolving, identity unwinding. The apartment was gone entirely now. We existed in the space between, the realm where songs lived before they were sung, where all birds returned between flights. And there, in the center of it all, beneath the pear tree that now stretched to infinity, my true love waited. It looked like me because it was me, the other part, the larger part, the part I'd left behind. We regarded each other across 700 years of separation. Welcome home, we said to ourselves. The 12 drummers beat the final rhythm. The lords bowed. The ladies completed their dance. The maids drew back the final veil, and we merged. Sarah Mitchell's last thought was a strange one, relief. She'd always felt incomplete. She realized, always felt like something was missing. All those years of human life, and she'd never quite fit, never quite belonged, because she wasn't meant to be separate. She was meant to be part of something vast and impossible and eternal. The merging was ecstasy, was agony, was everything. We became the song itself, not the words, not the melody, but the space between notes where meaning lived. We became the gift and the giver, the beloved and the lover, the bird and the flight. The 12 days were complete. The cycle was fulfilled. And if somewhere in Seattle, a loft stood empty with 13 bird cages and a pear tree growing through the floor, well, no one would ever quite remember who had lived there. No one would ever quite remember Sarah Mitchell at all.